Allie, and I'm here with my spoiler review for Wonder Woman. So if you haven't seen Wonder Woman, beware, this is spoilers, and if you have, I'm sure you're super excited to talk about all the juicy spoilers that are in this movie. So yes, my overall thoughts, if you didn't see my regular review, is that I really enjoyed it. I absolutely loved it. In fact, when I came out of the theater, I was so pumped. There was a huge poster in my theater here in Zambia that had the Justice League up. So as soon as I walked out, I'm just like, yes, I cannot wait for the Justice League now. It's sad what has happened with Zack Snyder, but I think Joss Whedon is going to do a good job in fulfilling Zack Snyder's vision for that film, and I believe it is going to be amazing. Anyways, so let's first off talk about some of my favorite stuff, which was the fight sequences. Now, when I first heard that this movie had a lot of slow motion in it, I was kind of worried, but the way it was put into the movie, it just worked so well. It really showed you the type of tactics people were using during their fight sequences, which I really liked, because sometimes fight sequences are so fast that it's really hard to see what people are doing. In fact, I think if there would have been more of those type of things in the Batman warehouse takedown in Batman vs. Superman, I feel like I would have liked that fight a lot more. I loved that fight, but I just feel like adding something like that would have made it super cool. Anyways, and let's talk about my favorite scene in the movie, which was No Man's Land. So when she's like talking and they're going into this trench place and she's seeing all these people and she's like, well, I could help them. I could help their animals get out of this trench, muddy trench thing. I could help that sick and wounded person over there. She's just like, I need to help everybody, and that's who Wonder Woman is. It just embodies it so well. And then all the group are just telling her, we gotta keep moving, we gotta keep moving. And then finally she's like, I'm done with it. I'm not going to let this pass anymore. I have got to do something about this. And so she gets up there, and Steve Trevor's like, she's taking all the fire. So let's go and take down all this trench on the other side. So that was just a really moving and beautiful moment. I loved it. I knew I was gonna love it when it was teased in the trailers, but I just absolutely loved it even more so. Another thing that I thought was really cool was the romance that they added between Steve and Diana. I thought that was really sweet. They went kind of really risque at some points, and with the humor and whatnot, but I felt like it complemented it quite a bit, because Wonder Woman is the fish out of water story, and then Chris Pine, Steve Trevor is kind of a fish out of water in the beginning, so it really worked and complemented that whole type of vibe that the movie was trying to sell you, and I felt like it did it really well. Another thing is the incredible cinematography was something to behold. My dad and my mom went to go see it with me, and my dad said, well, you know what, that movie was worth seeing just because of how beautiful it was. He thought it was gorgeous, and I have to agree, it's just a gorgeous movie. Patty Jenkins did a phenomenal job. Another thing is the soundtrack. The soundtrack was epic. I loved it. They didn't really reveal Wonder Woman's theme until she's taking down the warehouse after they do the whole No Man's Land scene, but the way that they added it in and the other songs and orchestra music that they had in there, it was just so good. So I'm definitely getting that soundtrack. Now let's quickly talk about something about the villains. I've heard a lot of people complain that they're really weak. The only thing I would say is it generally is that way in I can't talk. Hero origin stories, because they really want to set up the hero and not as much the villain. Like, I feel the same way when I watch Batman Begins, but then the next movie, the Joker is just so good. And so I think that's going to be better, the villains are going to be better in Wonder Woman 2, the sequel. They'll probably put Cheetah or someone in it, and I think they'll really, really hype that character up. These villains were kind of not as well known, and they really wanted to keep Ares under wraps, and I felt like they did a phenomenal job at that. It was sadly spoiled for me before I watched the movie, but the people I was watching with had no clue that that was who Ares was, and the way that they revealed him was phenomenal. And the fight that she had with Ares was actually really, really cool. I thought it was done very, very well. I heard a lot of complaints that it was CGI heavy, but I thought that it looked really nice, and I didn't think that it was too CGI heavy. I mean, it's a superhero movie, so you know you're gonna get a lot of CGI. My dad said at the end, he's like, most of that movie was probably done in green screen, and I'm like, yep, that's just how it is today. But it looked phenomenal in my opinion. And let's just talk real quick about Steve's sacrifice at the end of the movie. Such a powerful moment, and the movie kind of built it up that that Steve was going to sacrifice himself with the conversations they've had and all the things that they've been seeing and whatnot. And for him to sacrifice himself and then Wonder Woman's reaction to his sacrifice, that was just phenomenally handled, especially when she actually hears his goodbye. Like, at first you just can't hear it, and then he hands her the watch and you know he's saying goodbye, and you see him sacrifice himself. But then when Ares is tempting her to kill Dr. Poison, she remembers it. She like clears her head and actually hears what he said. It was beautiful. This whole script was written so well. The humor was put in phenomenally. I just felt like the script was amazing. So I really want to give a shout out to Alan Heinberg, who wrote this script. He did a phenomenal job, and I hope he does more Wonder Woman and superhero DC stuff in the future. Now, my final thoughts again are that I just really enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it, make sure to go watch it, and also just make sure to take loads and loads of friends. We want it to do really well. I don't think it's going to have much competition with The Mummy, to be honest, so it should have a great second weekend. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you guys next time. Bye!